Greetings, everyone. So I had to stop working on the roof because I got a call from my buddy Gary. He owns Sierra Construction and Equipment, and you've probably seen him in some of the earlier videos. They helped me with the trusses, they helped me with the girders under the house, and some of the shear wall sheathing and stuff like that. He gave me a call and he said they are kind of in between jobs. They're waiting for some permits to finalize, and they were available to come up and help me with the siding on the house. So I kind of had to scramble this weekend to get in the figure out where I'm going to put the electrical boxes and the light sconces on the house, because I wasn't prepared for it all. But I did have the siding and all the soffit material on hand. So they're going to get started on that today. They should be here shortly. What I ended up getting was in the boxed-in soffits, I got the James Hardie Shiplap siding, and I put that up under the soffits. I like the way it looks. It leaves a nice little 1/4 inch bead that runs the length of the soffit, rather than just having those flat panels of the wood grain where every 8 feet you'd have a seam or whatever. I just thought I'd try to get something that looks a little nicer. And then for the siding, we have the James Hardie. It's 8-inch wide planks. Or it's like 8 1/4, I think, 8 1/4 wide, and then you overlap 1 1/4 inch. So there's like a 7-inch reveal on the planks. And then all the trim around the windows, I got the 5.5-inch wide, 5/4. They call it 5/4, but it's really only 1 inch thick. The trim for the windows and for the corners of the house. So I'm going to try to get some video with these guys, but they usually keep me running quite a bit, getting materials to the cut station and doing other things to help them. But I'll try to get some shots of them working, and we'll see how it goes. right, so it has been a couple of weeks, and I didn't get a whole lot of filming. I was able to set up a couple times on some time lapse, but hopefully you got an idea of the siding going in. Gary, Mark, and Mike just did an absolute phenomenal job on the siding. One of the things that I saw, and I'll show it to you here in a second, is how I wanted the siding staggered on the wall. A lot of times, siding installers will put the boards in random, and I really wanted it to have the joints in a pattern. So I'll show you what we did there. So what I had the guys do is to stagger the joints evenly. It's a 4-foot spacing. So if you look at the bottom board there, our first joint was right there. And then the next board up, or the next row up, it's 4 feet over. And then the next row up, it's 4 feet over. So on the long wall, like this one, when you look, it has a nice angle going up of all those seams. And then it basically, every 2 boards, that seam ends up repeating with that 4-foot stagger, because they are 12-foot long siding boards from James Hardie. And here's a shot of the shiplap on the boxed in soffits. And then it's kind of dark up in there right now, but I went horizontal this direction, and then I kept them horizontal, and they stepped up the gables in that manner. And that I basically continued that anywhere around the house. So anything that was flat like this went horizontally, and then anything that went up the hill, it stayed in that same horizontal pattern, but so the lines continued across, but it stepped up in smaller pieces. So this wall was intentionally left undone because that is going to be stone all the way up. And I'll kind of walk you around the house so you can get an idea of how the siding looks. Here's how it looks under the porte-cochere. And man, those guys were able to make those joints look amazing up there right against the sawn timbers, or the big timbers for the porte-cochere. So we'll continue on over to the garage and the dormer. And then, of course, one of the details over any of the doors and the windows, there's a flashing that comes out from behind the siding and comes out 1 inch and then drops down 1 inch to shed any water that may get behind the siding and pop it out over the window or the door. And while we're talking about the flashings over the garage doors, at the bottom of the wall, I had this really good idea. I wanted to flash the bottom of the plywood and have metal coming down and wrap underneath, just so I'll be able to seal up the joint between the edge of the plywood and the foundation. But I also wanted to protect that plywood from any kind of rot or bugs or whatever. So my initial thought was just to make an L-shaped metal that would come down the wall, and it would fold under about 5/8 of an inch to cover the, 3/8 inch to cover the bottom of that plywood. But I started thinking more about it, and I also need something to kick the bottom the bottom row of the Hardie siding out, so it looks natural. Like some people, they'll end up just putting the first piece of Hardie in flat, and then when you overlap it, then everything starts to look at the angle. Well, I wanted that bottom piece to have an angle too, and normally you would have to put a strip of wood under there or a strip of the siding to get that first initial kick out. And being a sheet metal guy, I just came up with an idea about a flashing that could do both. And what I ended up folding up was a piece of metal that would come down the wall. I have a 3/8 of an inch kick out here. That's the closest I could get on the sheet metal brake, the fold that for that. I couldn't push this into the brake any farther to get that fold, even though the siding is 5/16. So the bottom one is kicked out, but it's kicked out a little bit more than the rest. But all in all, it doesn't look too bad. And then I completed a 180-degree bend here and came back with the 3/8 to 1/2 inch length here to tuck under to protect that plywood. So the plywood's right here. This protects the edge of the plywood, and it actually, when we lowered the siding, this actually was resting on the concrete. So then later I'll be able to come back in and caulk the concrete right along the edge of this, and it'll also seal it up nicely. And just to give you some perspective on how this would work, it sits right there at the bottom of the plywood. So now, and then what we did was zip taped over this, so any water that would get behind the siding would hit the zip tape, come down here, and run out the flashing. And here's a shot of the side of the garage. Some of the trim we had pre-painted, and it was left over from the fascia boards, and so we just ripped those down into 5.5 inch wide strips to match the other trim boards that I bought. That's why some of it's painted now and some of it is not. Most of the corners are not painted because I had to go and buy more. I had overbought on the 11 1/4 wide boards that I used on the fascia, and so we were able to burn a bunch of them up on the windows. And here's another good shot of that stagger. Boom, 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 like that, and then jump up 2 boards, and then it comes back down the other direction. So I really like the looks of it. Some people might think I'm kind of crazy, but when I look at the houses that have just the random pattern, it almost looks like chaos to me, and this just looks a little bit more organized as far as the way the joints look. And here's the back of the garage. This flat section here is going to be the disconnect for the air conditioner. I've got the line set outlet there, which is really nice. Once the refrigeration lines for the air conditioning come out, that has a metal worm gear clamp that you can seal around it. They have line set covers, so it looks really clean and professional. And I can't remember the name of this. I'll get it for you here in a second. And so here is that line set outlet. It's by Airex. It's called the Titan outlet. And you can see what the finished product would look like coming out of your wall. So I highly suggest getting this. It's better for air seal. It's going to keep the bugs out, waterproofing. The line set cover that you can put on later is going to protect the insulation and the control wire. If they run the control wire through there, some jurisdictions you actually have to put it in a conduit for the control wire, but it just looks super nice. So I highly suggest getting this, or telling your contractor that to put one of these in if you know you have to put heating and air conditioning in in the future. And this is the master bedroom wall. They couldn't finish up there with the soffit and the siding. I have a little bit of metal work to do on the roof, and I also need to get in 2 wall vents for the energy recovery ventilator. So that will be bringing in the air, fresh air into the house and exhausting the stale air up there in that area. Here's a look how the siding turned out under the outdoor living for the main house. Originally, when we trimmed out those windows, we had these trim boards coming down to a point, but they stuck out farther than the big sliding door there, the trim for it. So I just didn't like the way it looked, so we ended up cutting off the points at the bottom of the triangles here so they line up with the trim boards on the big patio door there. And I just thought that looked a lot nicer squaring it up, because the points stuck out at least another 6 inches, and it just really didn't line up, and I just thought this was a much better look. So that's the update on the siding, and I really want to thank Gary, Mark, and Mike for the help on this. What they did in a few weeks probably saved me 4 or 5 months worth of work doing this by myself. So if you're in the Sacramento, California area, and you need construction work done, siding, water damage, dry rot, that kind of stuff, the name of Gary's company is called Sierra Construction and Equipment. They work in the Sacramento area, but they're also, that's mainly where they do most of their work, but they're based out of Greenville, which is in a little farther northern California. So if you look them up and it shows Greenville, that's who they are. So it's Gary Strecker, he's the owner, and their quality far exceeds the price they charge for their services. So I highly recommend them if you are looking for someone to do a project in the Sacramento area, or maybe, you know, up near Greenville, which is pretty kind of far north from here. So give them a call, and they will definitely take care of you, and you'll be very happy when they're done. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.